the Rugby World Cup under-20s is well underway, and there's some big high hopes for the under-20s Aussie side. One thing that I've noticed, I think, in these first two rounds is I had hope for the Aussies. The Aussies still have very good signs there. We came up against Ireland in our last matchup, who were the Six Nations champions. But geez, the Northern Hemisphere, they just, in all honesty, they do their development better. They've come off the back of a Six Nations under-20s, rolled into this where our guys have played the Kiwis twice, and that's about it. That's all we've really had. There hasn't been much time to build cohesion, and it's a little bit frustrating to see, where we stand at the moment. In fact, that we're getting very close without that time to gel, but it's been an exciting time nonetheless.
Yeah, let's not forget that we came second in the last under-20s World Cup, so it's not like we've just disappeared off the face of the earth. We had 2 games against New Zealand before this, and we beat them once and just lost in Wellington after that as well, despite missing some of our top players. I mean, we were missing our first-choice fullback. We were missing our first-choice 10, and Tommy Liner would have been an absolute gold star player for us in this game, playing in the wet as well. The biggest thing for me here was that the Australian side just did not look like they knew how to play test match footy. They played low percentages. They didn't take their points. They didn't kick that well. They were completely outplayed tactically by the Irish side. But I think for the first 50 minutes, we looked the more talented side. Ireland were gritty, played really smart, and then rolled over the top of us late when we couldn't get any pay and just made too many bad decisions. So there's so much hope for that Aussie under-20 side. They obviously went down 10-30 against Ireland, and 4 days prior, I think, had taken Fiji down 46-37 despite a late red card. Scored some points late there when the subs came on. So there's a lot of hope, but I mean, I was just pulling my hair out in that game, just so frustrated watching the tactics. And there's just shades of Michael Hooper again, just like, back the boys, we're in a bad situation. The only way I can give my team confidence is by going for a try every single time we have a penalty in the half. You're 40 out straight in front, kick the points. Like, do not go to touch. They had a 20-meter line out off that, threw it over the top, completely missed it. It was just such bad footy. It's so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was of course the red card in the Irish game, which I'm sure you guys have been going back and forth with on Twitter non-stop for a while. Been a few red cards. I think it's just been a frustrating year with, for me, it's been inconsistent, I found, just in terms of particularly the head-on-head contact. Like, we've talked about it before, whether it's good or not for the game, it's better for the players. It's any direct contact to the head should be a red. And this one was, but there's times when, look at the Super Rugby final with Anton Leonard-Brown, got away with a yellow, things like that. It's just been inconsistent all year. Is that what you guys have found?
Yeah, I think the inconsistency is the issue. Even we scroll back to the 2019 World Cup, Samu Karevi lifts his elbow into contact and gets sent off. Yet we had, in this match in the under-20s against Ireland, we had an Irish player last second duck his head and ram it into a bloke, the side of a bloke's head, who was bent at the hip to tackle him, at below the chest height. If we're going to try to put defenders in a certain position and that they can be at risk for certain things in those positions, we also have to protect them. We can't go, you have to tackle like this. Players running it, you can elbow you, knee you, head you, do whatever they want to you. That, to me, there's a huge issue if we're looking after one of those two players. And the player that did that, the Irish player, he also, last year in his first game for Ireland, did the exact same thing, knocked himself out and the other player out. Like, this is not the first time the guy's done it. He gets to play on, and then they call it up after the match and give him a ban. It doesn't help anything, but it's good to see him, hopefully be able to take the learnings from this, that it's been pulled up afterwards. But geez, there's an issue. There's a lot of people there that were defending it, saying it's absolutely okay, that happens all game. No, it doesn't. No one rams their head last second into another.
Well, it's illegal, right? Like we brought the laws up on Twitter during the game, and it is illegal. Yeah. So you can say what you want, but it's against the law to duck your head like that and leave with the head into contact. So look, it's disappointing on two fronts, right? On so many fronts. It's disappointing because in the game, these things need to be picked up. And as Kagi says, it's just still too inconsistent. Like, this stuff is obvious watching the game live. How is it that these professional teams, in particular the TMO, is not actually picking it up? And then secondly, Australia loses their open side flanker, one of our best forwards, to concussion from that hit. And then thirdly, Ireland now are down one player from a red, I think another maybe from a concussion. No, two players from red cards, I think, from that game, post-game. Like, it's awful for Ireland as well because of those bad actions that they're now going to have so many players out for the rest of the competition. Australia are obviously already missing Marley Pearce from a red card. So it's frustrating to see the quality of a competition being really tarnished by these red cards that are still occurring at a high rate, particularly after a Super Rugby season where seemingly we were past this. And also, it just been refed so inconsistently that when it should have an effect on a game as a deterrent, it's not. Yep. It's just wrong on every level. It really stinks how it's been followed through with at the moment.
I think that's a great point. Like, obviously with inconsistency, you never get it right, but it's really felt like the times that they've got it wrong have really been the times it's needed to happen, and other times perhaps you could have got away with it. I don't know. It's been, so that's maybe added fuel to the fans.
I feel like I agree, and that's 100% a bias of it happened against Australia.
Yeah. Well, moving on from that, I mean, another thing that I know you guys really want to talk about, South Africa and Italy, and I'll let you get onto that in a second. But before that, speaking of another thing that annoyed me, just was in the France New Zealand game. There was another case of the leading with the forearm, bumping someone off, getting a card, and so Macca Springer scored what I thought was a great try, hard fought try in the corner, went up against his opposite number, gave him a big see you later, bumped him off, and ran over him for a try. And, was called back. So try rescinded, like a much needed try rescinded. And then he was sent off with a card. And I just thought, like, I get the no contact to the head, but it's like, I hate when an attacking player gets like carded for running at someone, essentially. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's a defensive play where you should get penalized for the wrong action in a defensive action.
Let's take an action, like let's take the extreme, Craigs. If I was running and I punched someone in the face as I was running with the ball, should I be red carded for taking illegal action?
Look, but that's not rugby, mate. Unless you're playing for Burraneer, that's not rugby.
But I'm just saying, like that's essentially how they're ruling this, right? He's thrown his forearm into someone's face, which has knocked him off his feet and taking away his ability to make a tackle. So while it's disappointing to see because you want to see good attacking footy, it's fair enough. They just have to stamp it out. But then it needs to be really spelt out that, hey, we're going to try and clear this out of the game because, the one for us was obviously with the Wallabies having it happen to Karevi in the World Cup, two World Cups ago now?
Yeah.
It was against Wales, where it had just never happened before. It just needs to be clear and put across to everyone so everyone's very aware of what's happening. If
I don't know. The way I feel about it is that the player tackling just didn't do a good enough job and should have got lower or got in a better position. And
the tricky thing is here, Craigs, is not only that you're wrong. It's that, I mean, if the player is in a legal position, they don't have to be lower. They don't have to be what they have to be in a legal position. You can passively tackle someone all you like, mate. That's the game, isn't it? You have to be in the perfect position to tackle. If someone sticks an elbow out and hits you in the throat, that is an illegal play. Like, you just cannot do that. What happens if and we've seen it actually earlier this year, it might have been the women's game that a player did it and hit someone in the throat and she couldn't breathe and fractured her larynx or something like that and had to be rushed to hospital. And that was like a month ago, mate. I mean, like, you just can't be doing that.
It's character building. I don't know. Maybe, look, I'm just scarred because this was my go-to move back in the day, just a big forearm to the face, bumping someone off. It was just...
But you were never doing it to score a try, mate. So don't be upset. You were never that close.
Mate. Unless I was 2 meters out, I wasn't scoring a try, mate. It's far too far to run for me. But no, look, moving on. Speaking of someone who can score a try with more than a few meters, also in this France-New Zealand game, is possibly up there as one of my new favourite players, Posolo Tuolangi, the son of probably the most feared rugby player on the planet, Henry Tuolangi. And mate, he is an absolute monster. He's 6 foot, almost 6'5", 149 kilos, 19 years of age, and he scored 2 tries against New Zealand.
18, mate. He's 18.
He's 18. My God, I'm getting ahead of myself. He's 18. He scored 2 tries against New Zealand. Yes, they were rolling maul tries, but they could not stop him. And then he had one of these runs where he ran about 50 odd meters through 8 people, and they just could not put him down. He's an absolute force.
I enjoy that you said they're both rolling maul tries. I mean, one was a rolling maul try. One was just him rolling the rest of the fucking side because he broke away from that maul and carried 4 blokes and got over the line. He is a phenomenal athlete. But let's put some of this in perspective. He had 4 tackle busts. He had a line break. He had an offload. He scored 2 tries. He ran 59 meters. He had 8 carries and 10 tackles of 68 minutes. He's 18. This is probably the youngest guy or close to it in the entire competition.
How many minutes did he play? You say 60?
68.
Yeah, he played.
And he's the biggest at 18, mate. He's already the biggest in the comp.
That's what I'm about to say, mate. He played 68 minutes. Bloke's 150 kilos. Do you know how hard that is to play 70 minutes?
It took Will Skelton dead set until his late 20s to be able to do that.
Yeah, and the best thing is on top of that, if it couldn't get any better, is that the current haircut he's rocking. He kind of looks like the Undertaker. He just like you know what I mean. They were playing in a game in the wet. Everyone's covered in mud. He looked absolutely terrifying. It was just awesome. So. No, look, I really enjoyed that. I mean, I guess I enjoyed New Zealand losing as well, but I was loving watching Tuilagi.
Look, the tricky thing for him is what position will he be? I don't think he'll be a lock, which is what he played here. I think he'll be in the back row and he'll probably be 8. He is extremely slow for a number 8. It doesn't matter. He's still running.
He's going to be a lock, mate. What do you mean?
No, he's 192 centimeters.
They have him. I think he was one. Isn't he 194? I thought he was 6.
He's got another 5 centimeters to grow. He's 18.
Yeah, that's true. They have him bracketed as a lock number 8. Look, if I was him, I'd want to play number 8. You know, you want to take after in the footsteps of your father. Even if he's a bit slow, mate. Look, if he lost 10 kilos, he'd still be 140 kilos, and he'd be probably a bit faster. You know, but
he's 145. Yeah, 135 kilos. I mean, that's a scary number 8. That's where I want to see him. That's where everyone wants to see him.
The next 3 Ken DeVetta. What do you reckon?
Mate, he's bigger than Green DeVetta. We've got him sorted already.
I think he's already scored more professional tries. The game we're going to talk about next is South Africa versus Italy, continuing the trend of the Northern Hemisphere dominance. Italy got this done 34-26, but the main story out of this, it's been going all over social media, is David Odiasi, the captain, the open side flanker for Italy. I'm sure everyone now has seen his inspirational speech for the match. I was almost tearing up. I had goosebumps all over me. He's basically yelling at his team going, never again will they doubt us. Never again will they, doubt me or doubt you. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight for your family. You're going to fight for my family. And then the boys around him just scream with tears in their eyes like they are super keen to run through brick walls or run at trucks. They didn't really care what they're running at. They were going to do it. And geez, at first when I saw it, I'm like, this is an amazing coach. Like this guy's planned this out for a long time. No, he's the fucking captain. He's playing under 20s World Cup. And then he ran out there and he had a cracker game. His work rate is immense. He is a player for the future. He's a name that you got to write down now and lock it in because you'll be watching a lot of this guy in the future.
It was definitely, that speech was an any given Sunday type of vibe. You know what I mean? It just sent shivers through your spine. But look, as if the story of Italy beating South Africa in South Africa in the Junior Rugby World Cup wasn't epic enough yet. Adding that onto it, huge. So yeah, he's got a very bright career, in front of him. So it should be awesome. But I mean, about that game, I actually haven't watched the game or the highlights of that one yet. Harry, have you watched it? What did you make of it? Or did you see any of the highlights or anything?
Nah, just the speech, mate. The speech was the highlight. There's so many games in the Under-20s World Cup. It's hard to follow them all. So I watched the full game of the Aussies, and that's it. There's another one for the record. Again, we play England on Tuesday, so tomorrow night at 10 p.m. as well. So really looking forward to seeing that one.
I'll give you one thing from that Safa game, boys. Damien Marcus, 165 centimetre, 80 kilogram inside centre. In the bucketing down rain, playing in mud, the bloke steps someone from his inside, on the inside, from his own try line, runs a full field, steps a few other blokes, and scores under the posts in the bucketing down rain. That was a phenomenal try. He is another guy to watch moving forward. Damien Marcus. Guy is an absolute freak.
Are we saying, like, are we going to forget about Damien McKenzie and start thinking about Damien Marcus? Is that what's going on here?
Oh, I wouldn't say that, but geez, he was very, very nippy. And to be able to do that in the wet weather, it was pretty inspirational for his.
By the sounds of it, he's so light, he didn't actually sink into the water. Like, he just runs on top of it.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. That was the difference. Everyone was running on a treadmill, and he's just going off the top of a different floor.
Yeah.
And look, the last result that I thought was surprising, again, I haven't watched the game or anything, but was the Georgian under-20s team defeating Argentina 20-0. Huge. The Georgians. How good.
It's not good for the Southern Hemisphere, mate. This under-20s comp is making us look trash. So I really hope that this is not a sign of things to come. And I think the writing is on the wall. Australian under-20s needs their own international competition before the Rugby World Cup. And logically, that has to be... And I think it is happening, Nels. Is this right? They're having the 4 Rugby World Championship teams and bringing in 2 invitationals, or this is for the World Championship comp?
That's the World Championships, the one you're talking about, not an under-20s one, but I would suspect in the next year or two we're going to see a under-20s rugby champs. I think it is, high on the agenda. Obviously, we've got the under-18s in Australia, the domestic one as well with the Reds, Tars, all those guys playing at the moment. But it just feels like there's a little bit of a gap there at that under-20s. And, a lot of these players trickle into the Wallabies moving forward. And the more they can play together at younger years, the better cohesion they get when they turn up for the Wallabies. So, it's a no-brainer to get them playing together as early as we can.
I got just one quick shout-out as well. Teddy Wilson, I thought, has been exceptional for the under-20s as the captain. He's a real prospect.
I hope he gets some good time next year. I hope he gets a bit of a crack.